Hi ladies and gentlemen, this is a video of journal entry number 3. So how can you use this video? You can use it to pause and copy the notes and then watch as I work through each of the examples, and then pause again to copy notes when necessary and play again to watch as I work through some notes. All right, so please set up in your table of contents the third entry. The date is October 7th, 2020. The description or the title, decimal operations, and it is page number 3. All right, so then you're going to turn to after entry number 2. That was our long division. And this is entry number 3. This is what it's going to look like. It will take a full page probably. If you end up going on to the next page, that's okay. Label both pages page 3. All right, so let's take it one section at a time. And please jot down the date, the title, and page number, as well as the learning goal. All right, so title is Decimal Operations, October 7th, 2020. This is page 3. And our learning goal, I can add, subtract, multiply, and divide numbers with decimal place values. If you need more time to copy, you can pause here. All right, just underneath the learning goal, you're going to put a small little title saying adding and subtracting decimals. Again, you can pause the video at any time. All right, so notes, please copy down. Line up the place values and decimal points. The decimal point is to the right of the ones place. We can add zeros for placeholders after the decimal point. Add or subtract, and then we're going to bring the decimal point down into the sum. So pause here if you need time to copy the notes. All right, so let's go through two examples. We have 63 plus 1 and 25 hundredths. The 3 in 63 is in the ones place. And the 1 in 1 and 25 hundredths is also in the ones place. So we're going to line both of those numbers up one below the other. And there is a decimal point to the right of the ones place in 63. So I'm going to add that in. I'm going to put some placeholders in the tenths and hundredths place, and then we're going to add. So we end up with the digits 6, 4, 2, and 5. Our decimal point comes straight down into the sum. Sorry about that. Okay, let's move on to the subtraction example. We have 12 and 7 hundredths. That 7 is in the tenths place, so I'm going to line up the 0 in 6 and 3 hundredths because the 0 is in the tenths place as well. Decimal point lines up, and the 6 and the 2 are both in the ones place. And let me put the 3 into the hundredths place for 6 and 3 hundredths. We're going to add a placeholder here just above the 3 and after the 7, and this is subtraction. So we're going to subtract. I'm going to have to borrow. So 10 minus 3 is 7, 6 minus 0 is 6, and 12 minus 6 is 6. And again, we're going to bring the decimal point straight down into the difference. All right, so just underneath the adding and subtracting, we're going to take some notes for multiplying decimals. So we're going to line up the numbers vertically. The decimal points do not need to be lined up above each other, like in addition and subtraction. We're going to go ahead and multiply. And then we're going to count the decimal place values in the factors and place that many decimal place values in the product. So let's see what I mean by working through some examples. So we have 5 hundredths, and we're going to multiply that with 3 tenths. You'll notice I'm not lining the decimal points up. They don't have to be on top of each other. And I'm just going to go ahead and multiply. 3 times 5 is 15. And 3 times 0 is 0 plus 1 is 1. All right, so we end up with, and then I can multiply 3 times 0 also, add a 0 in here. We don't have to just yet. And now I want to count the decimal place values in the factors. So I notice there are 2 in 5 hundredths. That's 0 in the 5, and there's 1 in the 3 tenths. It's just the 3. So that means we need 3 decimal place values in our product. So we're going to scoop our decimal point over from the 5 3 places. So it belongs just in front of that 0. And if there's no 0 there, you can fill that empty space with a 0. So it's 15 thousandths. All right, our next example, we have 1 2/10. We're going to multiply that with 6/10. So you'll notice this time our decimal points do line up. That's okay. So we're going to do 6 times 2, which is 12. Carry the 1. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 1 is 7. And again, we want to count the decimal points or decimal place values in both of the factors. There was 1 in each. That means we need 2 in our product. So we're going to scoop it over to just before the 7. So our product is 72 hundredths. Just underneath the multiplying with decimals, we're going to put in the section dividing decimals. So here are the steps we want to take. We want to move the decimal point the same number of places in the divisor and the dividend. We're going to add zeros as placeholders, and that should be to the right of our decimal point. Or to the right of the decimal place values, we can add those zeros in. Then we're going to divide. We're going to bring the decimal point up into the quotient. All right, so I'm just going to rewrite this problem in long division. So the 3 5/10 is on the outside of our long division sign, and the 7 hundredths goes on the inside. And I want to get rid of the decimal point in my divisor. So I have to move it over one place. That means I need to move it over only one place in the dividend as well. So our new problem is 35 going into 7/10. And remember, the decimal point is just to the left of the 7 now because we moved it. All right, from here we're going to divide. I can't make any groups of 35 out of the 0 or out of the 7. Remember, we can add zeros to the right of our numbers as long as they're in decimal place values. So our number is now 70, and 35 can go into 70 2 times. 2 times 35 is exactly 70, so when we subtract, we have no remainder and we can stop dividing. And our decimal point is going to come straight up into the quotient. We're not going to move it left or right now that we've shifted it from before. Okay, so it just comes straight up into the quotient. All right, if you have any questions, please ask in class. See you in our Google Meet. Bye-bye.